All right, so now we will start with the next plenary session, Networks and Partnerships to Strengthen Service Learning. We will have with us Claudio Valko from the Special School Center for Integration and Development from Quilmes in the province of Buenos Aires, Josemari Aymerich from the Spanish Service Learning Network, Luis Arocha from the school María de Guadalupe in Tigre, Buenos Aires, and Benjamin Patiño Mayer from Manos obra in Rosario in the province of Santa Fe. Luz Avruj will be the facilitator. Good morning. Thank you. We are all very happy and moved for being able to. Let me set the framework for the experiences, the great experiences that we are going to learn about. They are great because here we have social transformation, leadership, agency, the transformative power of our students and all of us, and networks provide continuity, and we do not always talk about them. So this is the proposal for this session. I wanted to start by sharing a definition for service learning networks. This is something that we did together with Andrés Peregali and Candelaria Ferrara. They are both here at the front. In CLAYSS, we have been working in this area for more than 20 years, but we were not always talking so clearly about this. So we looked for a definition. So these are communities of actors that collaborate, guided by the objective of contributing to building a more fraternal world, who coordinate their actions to promote this pedagogy and strategically influence society and public policies. And these are dynamic, complex, intention entities that have different levels of formality and impact. So please, keep this definition in mind because in the different experiences, we will go back to it. Why should we work as a network? CLAYSS, from its very own mission, promotes a more fraternal and more participatory world. And this is the natural territory for that mission, for participatory work. They are not an end in themselves. They are structures that allow to have a flow of resources and ideas to achieve another goal, that is to generate synergies, to build collectively, and to provide continuity, to introduce flexibility and strength for things to happen. Networks as a strategy are a great strategy to deal with complex issues. Whenever we talk about territory-based service learning projects, we see this. Here we have a picture from a specific project, but in some cases we are going to talk about specific projects, we are going to talk about what happens at the institutional level and also what happens at the global level with networks. By way of introduction, let me say that yesterday we mentioned the Ibero-American Service Learning Network. In the opening session, we talked about the fact that we are celebrating the 20th anniversary, but I thought it was important to talk to you about this network that brings together service learning networks from different parts of Ibero-America. But it was not like that in its origins. It just wanted to bring together people who were doing service learning in different parts of Ibero-America, and people who were doing research, and people who wanted to promote service learning in all these countries. Why do I say this? Because at its foundation 20 years ago, that was the case. But now we can say that this network is a network of different networks that are already consolidated. And this speaks to the dynamic aspect that I was just mentioning. And precisely, we are going to talk about one of these service learning networks in this panel. And I thought it was a good opportunity to share with you the work that we did in the Ibero-American Service Learning Network to celebrate the 20th anniversary. This is something that we did in a committee through collaboration. There were some people that worked on the research and the design of this network. They are here, so for those of you here and those who are not here, please, this show of hands is for you as a token of appreciation for all the years that you have devoted to this work, because you developed this timeline that is available also in detail on the CLAYSS website with all the milestones, but more especially, we thank you because you have sustained the work over time. Thanks to this collaborative work and thanks to what we do on a daily basis, over the last 20 years, we have helped turn service learning in Ibero-America into a reality when there is a public policy associated to service learning that is at risk, and the Ibero-American network, the national network, and other networks can work together to find a solution. When there is the intention of strengthening projects, public policies, to come up with publications, to think together, to do research, there are other people we can count on. And this does not make things necessarily easier. Sometimes it is even more difficult, but it allows us to broaden the space of what is possible. We can think that we can do more and better things together. Let me also tell you about another network that works strongly in close collaboration with CLAYSS. In between 2016 and 2022, CLAYSS undertook the task of promoting service learning in Eastern and Central Europe, with the same goal to provide training, to develop research, publications, but ultimately to set up a regional service learning network in that area that could be the one that would continue working in this field in the region. And in fact, it has done so, because we want service learning to be systemic, to be transformative at the global level. Therefore, we need to generate capillarity, or to continue generating capillarity. We are not reinventing the wheel. We are just doing what all of us do in our own territories. So let me share a few statements from a publication that we drafted with a history of this connection. Bonding and connecting, generating fraternity is the most sustainable way of promoting service learning, strengthening related public policies, and supporting long-term strategies. This is not something that an organization can do on its own. It can promote it, it can try to do it, but it can't do it alone. That is why we have networks. So now that I have already set the context here, let me introduce the people who are here at this table and who will look at this from different perspectives, from a specific school, from another specific school, from the point of view of the link between universities, from the perspective of a national network. So each of them will tell us about a network and experience derived from a service learning project or derived from the intention to have an institution that will promote service learning. That is the case of the Center in Quilmes and the María Guadalupe school. The exchange between and among universities to conduct service learning projects, as Benjamin will tell us, and finally, with Josemari's case, the Spanish service learning network that brings together the different partners in service learning in Spain. So, this conversation will follow a main theme, and that is challenges. Because as Charo Valle or Roservalle would say, she's one of the founders of the Spanish service learning networks. Everybody accepts that we have to work in a network. The problem is that there is not enough training for that in educational and social settings. Therefore, to promote service learning in a concrete territory, in addition to the novelty of promoting an educational methodology, we have to advocate the effort to move collaboratively, something that is not so usual. We have a chemical engineer. He has been working in Quilmes in the Center for Integration and Development in CIF at a higher level, where he coordinates gardening workshops. So throughout his career, he has promoted several service learning projects in institutions, Un Granito de Arena and Querés Hacer una Huerta, starting in 2024. He promotes inclusion, learning, and community participation. Pamela is with Claudio, and she has a degree in occupational therapy in Quilmes, and she works together with Claudio at this same center in Quilmes in the vocational training workshop, focusing on partnerships with the community. This center sometimes was here in the international conference, but we are not going to ask them to talk about their spectacular projects. Please visit the website and the recordings from previous conferences to learn more about those projects. But we asked them this time to tell us why is it that they have been working as a network for this to be possible.
Hello, I'm Claudio Valko. And first of all, I'd like to thank the National Service Learning Program that has supported us from the very beginning, supported us, helped us, guided us. We started in 2004 at the initiative of our principal, Mirta, to go. We went to Plaza Park, La Cruz, like 3 streets from the school. We produce plants because we have gardening in our school. So we started taking our students there. And for that, we had to reach an agreement with the municipality of Quilmes. And I also talked to different nurseries in the area asking for plants, and they gave me the plants. But at the end of each season, so the challenge was first to try and produce more and better, but thinking of that park, that public park. And we did it in a couple of years. The municipality decided to improve the park. We were responsible for 2 areas to plant the trees, 2 flower beds. That was a very nice experience because 2 students of mine cut the inauguration tape for the park. So that was a nice experience. And that was published, was disseminated. And we participated, we applied for the award in 2007.
Sí, 2004. Estoy por el año 2004.
Yeah, it was in 2004. Okay, let's move on the slides. So we started with a very, very small network. As I said, the municipality, the nurseries, and the parents also, because we used to sell some of the plants to support the project, to obtain resources. And then in 2007, we received the award. The school has 40 students. I mean, when I talked to them over Zoom, I told them, but my project is very small. How come you're inviting me to share this? 40 students and then 20 others in integration. It was difficult. It was very surprising to receive a special award in 2007. But we used that award to improve the facilities because the school had almost no resources. You had to do the gardening in the school garden with a table. We had nothing. And they told me, what you have to do is a greenhouse. So they put me in touch with the Agricultural Technology Institute, the INTA. Christina from the INTA gave me a brochure, and in February I had to create the greenhouse. Well, I did it because I wanted. It was a lot of hard work, and she helped me with the roof because I'm afraid of heights. So it was beautiful. And then, as I've also studied engineering, I did the irrigation, the automation of the irrigation, because it's complicated to maintain production year-round. So we kept growing. And another thing that they suggested that year to me was to provide a talk at the Lions Club in Quilmes. They were very interested in what we were doing. And that was the starting point to finally reach an agreement with the Lions Club. And then from then onwards, we started maintaining more parks, 3 parks. And we included a sign saying this park is maintained by students from this Integration Development Center with the Lions Club. It was a very nice experience. It lasted for more than 10 years. And then, as we had this contact with the municipality, we also started selling the produce at the market in the city that's very near. That gave us more funds to keep growing. I also attended a course at the University of Buenos Aires for production in greenhouses. And I still have the contact with the engineer there because that allowed us that allowed me to modify the greenhouse to produce in winter, for instance, to produce summer plants in winter. So we kept growing, and as we were going to sell in 2009, we were already selling part of the seedlings once a week or once a month. We organized the flower plantlets. We also had vegetables, but then that became less important with the greenhouse. And they asked me for plantlets of tomato, etc. And I thought of donating these green garden plants for people in Quilmes to grow their own green garden. So we developed this new project to create a green garden, a vegetable garden. And for that, it was necessary to disseminate the experience because, as I said, it's a very small school and parents contributed. They bought the plants, but it wasn't so popular. And then the local newspaper published an ad for free, and they used to come at tea time for plants. A lot of people came for the plants. They also contacted us from schools and different soup kitchens. And some months before, a person had come from the US that the program told them about the school, and they suggested that we should go out with the kids to teach others. And there was a children's home and Filovitae. These were the 2 organizations that approached us. They teach after school. I mean, the children go to school in the morning, and then in the other shift, they go to these institutions. So I offer them, why don't we go? Do not take the plantlets. We will go there and grow the garden with you. So that enhanced the experience because it was very useful for them. We reached 2011 in this slide. So we kept growing, we kept having more things. Other schools joined us. They came to look for the plantlets to grow their own gardens. But we kept both things, I mean, working at the public parks and the green gardens. In the public parks in 2011, Fortunately, we heard about a cooperative in Quilmes in the city, and they helped us a lot with the logistics to obtain materials, for transportation. And I think that at the point we had already received the second award, so the mention of honor, and that we used that to buy materials and for transportation. We used to rent a van or pay taxis to go to the different schools. And this cooperative, Stolzing is the name, contacted us with different places. For instance, the another institution that is very close, and there we planted flower plants, perennial plants, and also at the sports club and the Farinelos radio station. There we also did some plantings, and the children participated in a small part of their radio broadcasting. That was in 2011. So for several years, we were with these people at Quilmes, and then we contacted a local club to see if the kids could do physical education there, and this is what we've been doing so far. It's one of the things that, was not an idea when we started doing this, but then new things started coming up, because the backyard in our school is not very big. They cannot play football there, so they go to this club. Then in 2015, there was a change in Quilmes, in the city, because Martiñano Molina became the mayor, and we had a connection with him from before. He paid a lot of attention to the environment, the parks, the green gardens. In the parks, he did a lot of things, mainly in two public parks with the participation of Quilmes. It's an important brewing company from there. And it was difficult for us to do all that in one day. So the idea was, let's de-escalate a little. Let's move this down. With the Lions Club, we no longer had the agreement. We maintained one park that we visited once a month or once every 2 months, and we paid more attention to the other part that we thought was very important, particularly also for the children to share their knowledge with others. So the new mayor, who was a former sportsman, also took us with their vans to two greenhouses that they were creating within the municipality. But the good thing about this is that he gave us a very important piece of information. That was the seedling producer. He started donating seedlings for tomato, different kinds of lettuces, eggplant, etc. And he's one of the most important producers in Argentina. We had been doing this, at our own, with our own effort. So now with this donations, that was a big help. The mayor told us this. You should make these plants more resistant to the transplantation. That was very important for the schools. That was the experience. And now Pamela is going to continue with the next part. And in 2017, we also received the first award that made us so proud.
All right, just following up on what Claudio was saying, I have a degree in occupational sciences, and I joined in 2022 We were not given any vans to transport the students. We couldn't afford private cars. So we decided that we should start using public transportation. So the idea was to sustain the network that we had, to expand them if possible, because with our population, we need to do that in order to favor inclusion processes to exchange human values and knowledge. So we planned how we would go out on, because we have a large number of students. First, we decided to travel short distances. Then we could extend those trips a little bit. And this allowed us to continue building a relationship with these institutions that deal with completely different realities. So in every meeting, we learn a lot. Not just students feel that benefit, but also those in the institutions feel that these are enriching opportunities, and there's always reciprocal learning here. And as a side effect in my area, we see that many of the students started becoming more autonomous in the community. Many of them started traveling on their own in public transportation, which they didn't do in the past. Of course, at the beginning, we provided them with a lot of support and assistance, but we gave them more freedom, and now they come to the school by bus. They get together at the weekends, so they learned how to use this resource that was not available to them before. We could say, by way of conclusion, based on his experience for so many years and when I joined, that networks are essential for the type of organizations that we work with on our daily basis, and to exchange information, to get support. Although we provide a lot of materials, they usually give us back a lot. So when students convey their knowledge and tell us about their experience, that opens up opportunities, because although we go to elite schools, we also go to vulnerable areas. So we raise self-esteem in the surrounding community. We always convey the values of solidarity, responsibility, and we always work as a team, not just us, but also with institutions that we support. Thank you, Claudio and Pamela. Well, now I'm getting excited with all this, but while we get ready to listen to Luis Arocha, let me share a few words that I have noted down so that we can think about them together and we can have an exchange and a Q&A. They were talking about gradual growth in the neighborhood. The greenhouse or the nursery was just 3 blocks away, and we didn't know about that. Sometimes you have to learn how to say no, also to deal with what is unexpected or unplanned. Well, this is what usually happens when you set up a network. So let's continue together. Luis Arocha has a master's degree in education. He has a large experience on educational projects focused with children, adolescents, and young people in vulnerable contexts. He was the director of the Providencia Center in Montevideo, Uruguay, and coordinator of regional hubs of Uniservitate and CLAYSSS. He teaches at the Primary and Preschool Training Institute of the Catholic University of Argentina. He's the executive director of a foundation that leads a team with more than 1,000 adolescents and young people from poor neighborhoods, Integración and Escobar. Thank you, Luz. Thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be back, not just because I have the possibility of presenting what we did with our foundation, María Guadalupe, in this network, but also because today we are also meeting with other networks, and I want to go to Quilmes to learn more about their project, because we are just starting with a service learning project that has more or less the same name related to green gardens. So we have a win-win situation today. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do in our network. Many of the achievements in our lives have to do with the work that we do in the network. I left my domestic network today, and yesterday we have some members of the foundation, some teachers sharing their experiences, but we also learned a lot. So just to give you an idea of the work that we do, the María Guadalupe Foundation is the original network, was created in 2011 in the location that is called Tigre. We started with a dream, but rather with a mission to provide quality education to children living in a poor community that is Las Tunas, that has 40,000 inhabitants, with some areas that are more vulnerable. So we started the experience there. We started working as a network with the bishop's office in San Isidro and with other institutions in the area. The story developed quite quickly, but in Las Tunas now there is a primary and secondary school, and last year another school was opened in Escobar, replicating the same experience. And it has also led to the creation of a job inclusion program that helps people between the ages of 18 and 25 to find a job. This vertiginous growth started in 2011, 2012, all the way up to this date, with 1,200 or 1,300 children that come every day, plus the people in the employment program and their families, their stories, and other institutions from the neighborhood, other NGOs. When we deal with younger adults, we also have networks with universities, programs that provide scholarships, or with SMEs or large companies that also provide some support through their own programs, trying to create job opportunities for young people. And this is a story of networks. It was born out of the need to build a network, because the foundation, as any other NGO, has some characteristics. So in order to fulfill its desires, needs to look for other partners. You never have all the ingredients to cook the recipe that you have, especially in the third sector. Probably that is also the case in other areas, but in this sector, this is part of the typical characteristics. So in your DNA, you are always paying attention to see who can contribute, who can provide support, and automatically you start seeing that you can also take a part in other people's puzzles. So this is part of the origin of the foundation, and the schools have a motto that say, "Nothing without you, nothing without me." So this creates a nice tension with families, teachers, students, volunteers, because all the time we are asking ourselves what we can do, and we are inspired by this motto. What is it that I'm trying to do alone, and I don't let others help me? And this is not just a philosophical motto. It is easier to go further if you walk with somebody else. At the same time, we started working to systematize our work as a network, putting a spreadsheet together to see what we were doing with other institutions. Some colleagues showed a clear example of the organizations that work with you from the government side, NGOs, universities, schools. So we started working on that systematization activity. Today, we had approximately 25 NGOs or foundations that work with us. I came across some of them. Of course, we work at different levels of intensity with the KIT Foundation and others. We have been working closely together for some years. So we have different levels of relationship, but all in all, we have 25 NGOs we connect with, also with 25 schools. In some cases, it is a network of schools, like in the case of the Catholic University, the closer schools, private, public schools. And with the employment program, we started working a lot with SMEs, with large companies. You may have a paper company or a bakery that is an SME, also with cooperatives, especially working on environmental issues. It was essential for us to work with urban recyclers, with waste collectors, and we also have some large companies, approximately 50 companies that engage with us every 2 weeks, approximately, mainly with this labor inclusion program. And over the years, institutionally, we have joined other networks, like the network of schools of the Catholic University or other employment networks and that work also with other NGOs. The network of this neighborhood, Las Tunas, and the other one in Garin. When you look back, you see that you have connected with many individuals and organizations. I was mentioning a foundation that I met here, but behind those organizations and foundations, you see people. This ends up being a bond with people. When we put together this slideshow with my team, we thought that we should share some important moments with you. The first picture here, or here we are trying to convey this idea that we have a clear idea of what we have to do on a daily basis. We get up very early. There are 150 people working, and we all know what our purpose is. It is very easy to connect with others and ask others to join you, but it becomes difficult if you don't have a clear goal in mind. At least it seems more difficult. So for us, it was very important to have a clear understanding of what we wanted to achieve. And then we also need to understand that not all of us pursue the same objectives. Probably in Las Tunas network, in that neighborhood, all of us have the same ultimate goal, but at the micro level, you see that there are some differences. So in some cases, we can work together, and in others, we can't. So we can be a network. So we have to break up with this logic of black and white, everything or nothing. I have to like you. We have to share the same objectives, the same methodologies. We need to leave that aside. We need to know that if we are all aiming at this goal, in our case, we want to provide support in the school process to all the children that come to our schools. We accompany them in their process. We want them to shine with their own light, to build a project for their lives. So that is compatible with many other organizations. So that helps others collaborate with us. So that is part of the first picture, to have a clear understanding of your goal, of your end. This is a graduation ceremony from the school. So in 10 years from now, when I come across one of these graduates, what would I like them to be like? Well, we want them to have friends. We want them to have opportunities to meet other people. So that goal is very important for us, and it has to be explicitly stated. Then we also go out to have an encounter with others without any prejudices. We try to get out of the school, to go out of the school, schools sometimes are endogamic because once you open the doors of the school, well, all of us are in there and we are all working hard there. And it's quite difficult for us to break out with that logic. But you need to make sure that you go out without overlooking what needs to happen inside the school. With a job inclusion program, most of us came from an educational background, and we didn't know exactly what it meant to connect with a company that seeks profit. So that was a learning process for us. Or sometimes we have to connect with other organizations that work in other vulnerable settings. So that has been very important. It's very easy to say it and it's very easy to do it, but the biggest challenge to education systems is to promote conviviality or coexistence. And here we have colleagues from other countries that see that problem every day as well. And then finally, as a Uruguayan, I had to quote Drexler, so we have to love the plot more than the ending. And the path is important. The path matters. So once you have a clear objective in mind, you have to have a clear understanding of the path that you are going to follow. I cannot work with other institutions in this community, Las Tunas, if I'm just checking my mobile phone, if I don't give importance to a certain meeting because I feel that that has nothing to do with me. I have to value the process, the path. Not just because I have to show respect for others or because of philosophical reasons. If I want to go further, I need to take the time. And if we share the ultimate goal, then it won't matter if I like that person, if that person laughs at my jokes all the time. What matters the most here is the process and valuing the process. It is never a linear process. Sometimes you have some ups and downs. At the end of the year, you say, well, this network was so powerful. And sometimes you say, well, we couldn't get to where we wanted. But those paths are not linear. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have our own expectations and have patience and take the time. Time is key here. Bonds are ties with affection. They are free and they need time. And once you have those three features in place, then you can establish true bonds. You see that you may have a WhatsApp group and everybody starts saying happy birthday to other people. So, and that is not because you are obliged to, you feel like congratulating that person on their birthday. So you start building those bonds and that mesh, and that helps us grow as a society. Just a couple of comments about a service learning project that we did, because it is here in this kind of project where you see the power of our DNA, that is to create networks. And this has to do with the core of what we do. This has to do with the pedagogical aspects. Service learning networks invite us to work as a network with others. So this is a project that was presented yesterday. It's called Transitando, and it covered different areas from the curriculum with fifth grade students that work with a special school 505, that is close to our school, with the municipality of Tigre, and with two companies, Gotter and Tequint. And they were close partners from the planning phase, and they did a road safety campaign along an avenue, and in that neighborhood they proposed some solutions to improve the traffic inflow and outflow of the neighborhood. And through that project, the students engage with others, and the only excuse here for all these people to get together was that project. So they established a connection with the school, They also talked to the mayor because with the road safety office, we had a meeting, we talked about signage, and they were able to submit a proposal to the mayor himself, and they distributed brochures among the neighbors, and they presented this campaign to Gotor, and they asked for support from Tekin for more signage creation. It was a very concrete project, but it's a clear example of all this. So finally, let me say this. What has made sense for us over the years? Well, the fact that we worked as a network because we want to teach others to work collaboratively, and the only way of teaching that is by doing it ourselves. And we have this idea that you cannot be saved on your own. This is part of our pedagogical proposal. We follow this idea of synergy, ecology, system. These kind of logics allow you to streamline the use of resources and to contribute what others don't have in puzzles that belong to others, and you can end up having something that is more sustainable, and because of the exponential power that you can have when working under this logic. If you have more bonds, then you create even more bonds, or one network leads to more networks. So this was our logic. That's all. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Luis.
Thank you, Luis. Something he did not mention, and I also forgot to mention, is that the school, María Guadalupe, this year or last year won the award. Let us know what award it was. It was in a category called Community Collaboration. It's a recognition to the best schools in the world. It's at an international level. We're very proud of that.
Con eso, pero
we are very proud of that, and we are very excited at living this idea. And we painted this in a mural. It says, "This is the best school in the world because this is your school," and that can be experienced. I mean, by any school we know.
La primera filmina que mostraste.
In the first slide, you showed that mural. I thought it was important to highlight that, because precisely this is not just about building networks because we are good, or because it's a good thing to do, or because that's what the ethics tells us to do. But as Luis just mentioned, it's more efficient. It allows us to reach further. It allows us to become a better school. So I wanted to mention that. Now we're going to listen to Benjamin Patiño Mayer here. He has a degree in physical therapy. He's a director of the 3D lab at the UPR, a teacher in anatomy at the University of the Great Rosario, and he's finalizing the postgraduate course in osteopathy at the Madrid School of Osteopathy, and also at Funiver in teacher training. Since 2014, he has been at the University Pastoral in Rosario, and since 2017 in Manos a la obra in Rosario. That is the project he is going to share today. Since 2023, he's been part of the National Secretariat of the Manos a la obra, representing Manos a la obra, or Let's Get Down to Work. That's the name of the project in Rosario. Good morning. First, thank you so much. I'd like to thank CLAYSSS for the invitation. This is my first CLAYSSS conference. I'm taking a lot of information with me. All the sessions were great. So I have a lot now. I take a lot from our project. My idea first is to tell you very briefly about what this project is about, so that then I can give you more details about the theme, that is networking and partnerships. To start and to tell you what this Manos a la obra, or Let's Get to Work, is, it's a project of service learning at a university level, at a Catholic university promoted by the University Pastoral, in this case from Rosario, with the Archdiocese of Rosario. And it does not belong to a university itself, but the members are university students. This is, well, the idea in this project is to put what you learn at university at the service of others. So, based on the students that participate, we think of projects, multidisciplinary projects or with related programs, to put that work at the service of a community and to work together with that community. In this case, a vulnerable community or that is facing a specific issue. I'll go back here for a second. These pictures show the different projects that we usually have. For instance, students of architecture, engineering, that do their projects in which they work in public spaces, perhaps where they found some kind of need, or the same with students from the health care programs. They provide training. You see in first aid, CPR training. And as we are a Catholic program, we also have internal training and spirituality activities for the participants themselves. Who can participate? In Manos a la Obra targets university students and young professionals between 18 and 35 years of age. That is the age range of the participants, and not just Catholic or members of the pastoral. This is open to anybody that wants to participate. In this picture, well, that shows the latest edition. In Rosario, we celebrated our 15th anniversary, and we were around 200 youth between 18 and 35. And the nice thing about the project is that not only the participants are students, but also the coordinators and those who organize Manos a la Obra are the youth themselves. Every year the team is renewed, and it has this aspect of strengthening leadership skills, management skills, team management in very young boys and girls. Where is this done? Well, in my case, I represent the group from Rosario, but the first Manos a la Obra in 2006 was in Mendoza. In Rosario, we started in 2011, and then today, the 5 on the top are active. La Plata in the city of Buenos Aires, promoted by the pastor of the Catholic University here, and in Córdoba. And then the others that appear here are Manos a la Obra, these projects that existed at some point. I hope we can recover them. The logo at the middle is the logo of the National Secretariat of Manos a la Obra. It has the different colors of the different hands. And that is the identity that we try to embody, to connect the different hands in the country and incorporate those hands that want to lead their first experience. And now, emphasizing the topic of today's meeting, working in networks and partnerships, that's our topic. How is this Manos a la Obra conducted? Very briefly. For 3 years, we work in communities, in neighborhoods. For instance, the Rosario Archdiocese tells us, well, there are some problems here. We want you to go to these communities. So we go there, not specifically in Rosario, but in the suburbs of the city. And we work for 3 years. After those 3 years, we look for new areas. So you constantly have to develop and find and build new networks and partnerships, because every 3 years the faces change. So first, as I said before, the protagonists are the students with the community, with the neighborhood. They put their knowledge at the service of the community. So as I said before, how is this connection created? This connection with the neighbors, with the members of the community, and how are these projects created? It's not that, oh, today I learned how to build a house at university and then I build a house. That's not the way it works. But during the year, we make visits every month to the different communities. We visit house per house. We knock at the doors and we talk to the neighbors. We get to know them. It's very important to generate that connection and know their problems. And then during the rest of the year, we think of the project. In Rosario, that is done in January for 5 days, and that's what we do every year. So during the creation of the project, some things start coming up and you have to find solutions for those issues. First and foremost, whenever we face a new project in a new community, we have to work with them. We introduce ourselves. We always try to have the support of the municipality. So always the first approach is with the municipality. We have meetings with the local authorities. We present the projects that we've been doing in other places. And then when we detect an issue, we also try to obtain the approval of the local authorities to be able to move forward. And in these visits that we make, it's very important to recognize those points of contact in the community that will be our partners, to invite people, to do workshops. Sometimes we go to places where we try to find like a board of neighbors where we can perhaps present our workshops. Sometimes that does not exist. Sometimes the weather is not very nice, so we cannot just do our activity in the open air. So some neighbors gave us their own house, or they have a space for us to carry out the activities. So we start creating these connections with some members of the community. And then these 5 days in January, as I told you, the students have to go to that place. So we start finding perhaps transportation companies that can provide us transportation. Or we try to find schools or clubs that can house us during those days, and companies and SMEs. And those in this project, those of us in this project have a characteristic, because we are very bold and we are not shy at all. So we are known for going around the community with letters, and around the city with letters asking for donations from toilet paper, food, and different materials for the different projects. For instance, suppose that the education students want to conduct activities with the kids and they need papers and stuff. Well, we have to obtain that, because it's a self-sustainable project. We don't depend on anybody. We don't have any funding from anybody. It's all through donations. All the things we obtain is through donations. That's why the projects are in accordance with what we can afford. We cannot think of building a house or a road if we do not have the resources for that. So we go to projects that are feasible within our possibilities, and everything through donations. So there are the SMEs, the companies that receive us. Well, we explain to them what the project is about, and they give us a hand. And thanks to them, we can do a lot of these projects. What else? And then, of course, universities. Although this is not a project from a university. We go to universities, we talk to the deans of the different programs so that they can give us the space to invite the students there and tell them about the project. And that's how we've incorporated many students. And then, of course, the connection with healthcare centers is very important, hospitals, and many people that help us carry out this beautiful project. Wait, I'm not finished. And now to conclude. And one more thing that I forgot. I started going from the smallest to the biggest, what we need to the projects, for the project. So companies start coming up. And sometimes we escalate it at a national level. As I said before, we have hands in different places in the country. So we have this networking also between the different groups of the project all over the country. And the National Secretariat every year organizes a national Manos a la obra meeting where we meet all the different members to keep working as a network, to keep creating partnerships. And the realities in the different groups are very different. So this joint work helps us keep growing for the students and for the communities. And why participate in this project? Why I participate in Manos a la obra? We always say, this is very personal, no? We all have our own reasons. In Rosario, we say, it's a life-changing experience. It's a one-way journey. I've been participating in this project for 10 years now, and it's been with me throughout my studies, also in my years as a professional. This is part of my life because what you live in the project, beyond putting your knowledge at the service, all the spiritual part, the human side of this, it's difficult to explain. Yesterday, I heard that you can learn from theory and all, but the experiences, that is what makes you richer. So that's also, I invite you to join us. Well, that's the Instagram. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. How interesting, right? Because we have been hearing about the use of networks in different settings, a special school, dealing with students with special needs, a school at different levels at the university, from an education institution through the institutions, as Benjamin was telling us, in different ways, coming through different points, but in an inevitable manner. I love this idea that of doing projects based on our capabilities. And I think that Claudio referred to this as well. Sometimes we need to say no. Just like we face difficulties in the process to create together, but that doesn't mean that we have to say no. We also need to come up with a good diagnosis. Now let me invite Josemari Aymerich. Let me tell you a little bit about him. I know him for several years. We work closely together. He was born in Pamplona in Spain. He has a degree in geography and history from the Navarra University. He has taught at the School of Communication, Sciences and Humanities in this university, and he's also studied in the UK. He is a secondary school teacher at the Sagrado Corazón de Pamplona School from the Sofia Barat Foundation. He coordinates service learning projects in the school, but he's not going to talk to us about that. He's a founding member of the Navarra network of service learning in Spain, and since 2018 he has been a member of the board of the Spanish service learning network that is called RedApS. In Spain, service learning is described by the abbreviation APS, or apps as they call it. So he might mention that several times. So he's going to talk to us about the Spanish Service Learning Network. I'm very happy to have you here with us. Hello. Thank you, Luz, for this presentation. I am honored and very happy to be able to attend for the third time this conference. So I will share with you my experience. I have been working for several years in the Spanish Service Learning Network, so I'm going to tell you how we work there in our network with partnerships to promote service learning. I really like the makeup of this panel, from the local work, I also do that as a teacher, all the way to the most general one with the national network. And I think that this is part of the service learning DNA, to work in networks. I should also say that whenever someone would talk about RedApS, the Spanish Service Learning Network, that person would be Roser Valle, the founding member. Today, I'm just her disciple. I hope I can live up to the expectations. So I count on your benevolence. As Luz has said, and as others have also said in this conference, I'm a historian by training, and I like looking back in order to explain what is happening in the present and also to look into the future. So let me briefly tell you about the origins of the Spanish Service Learning Network. In Spain, at all levels of education, there were a lot of experiences on education and engagement, education and solidarity. However, solidarity-based service learning only reached Spain in the early 21st century, as we know it right now. It was Roser Valle precisely who started disseminating service learning, influenced clearly by Latin America and Argentina, in particular with her relationship with Nieves Tapia and Alberto Croce. In 2008, let me say that the first center to promote service learning in Spain was founded in 2005 in Catalonia. Then in 2008, with Roser Valle, service learning spread to other areas of Spain. And we started building a network connecting individuals and institutions that had an interest in promoting service learning in their own regions. A number of informal meetings were held, and in 2015, the network was legally founded, although it was already working informally since 2008. In 2015, we also had the first national meeting with service learning awards presented to different projects. Today, we have 21 categories in those awards. The ceremony is held every year. And we are pleased to have this recognition to service learning experiences. There is more information in the issue of the Writers' Journal, issue 18. So, what is our network, RedApS? It's a non-for-profit organization, The mission of the network is to disseminate information about service learning at all levels. Anyone who wants to listen to us to promote service learning can come to see us because we think that service learning is the only way of transforming this world and making it more fraternal. Another objective that we have in the network is to promote the collaboration among different territorial groups in Spain, territorial groups that spread service learning in their own regions. And then we also want to represent all those territorial groups before government institutions or international organizations. There are many groups working on a daily basis, so we want to be their representatives before other bodies. We have 229 members, individual members. In RedApps, we are formally registered and we pay a fee. It's a small fee, but we pay it anyway. We also have a peculiar characteristic. Some years ago, we amended the bylaws, and we have also included the city governments as member bodies. So there are different municipal governments that have joined our network as members. And the board is made up of 10 people. The first president was Rosario, and since last year we have Paco Barea as the chair of this board. He is retired, so he's from Andalusia, and he coordinates the work from the board. And we are also very proud of having some honorary members like Nieves Tapia, Alberto Croce, Federico Mayor Zaragoza, some philosophers, so people who have provided us with a lot of support. So we love them, so we want to acknowledge their contribution to our work. So what do we do in the network? We do a lot of things, but let's try to summarize them. Perhaps the largest impactful event is precisely the conference that we hold in December. We rotate cities, and we spend one day for training, disseminating information, and celebration. We present the National Service Learning Awards in December in this meeting. We have 21 categories in the awards, as I said earlier, and we love the public-private partnership. We have the support of the ministry and different private companies and foundations and civil society organizations that provide support. This is a day of celebration. This year we will hold this meeting in Castile, and in a city that is called Ciudad Real. So if you have the chance of traveling to Spain, you are more than invited to take part in that meeting. We also focus on training, educating our members through online meetings and seminars that we have. We also have Train the Trainers course that we usually carry out in our fall, and this is for members. And we also offer training to all public or private organizations that so require. We also want to disseminate information about service learning through publications. So over the last few years, we have published papers and articles on different aspects, how to carry out a good service learning project, what's the social impact of service learning. So we publish to the extent possible in order to disseminate the importance of service learning. And here you have the link to our webpage. where we have many resources, projects that are described in detail, especially those that had received awards in the last few years. We have all those documents that are publicly available because we want them to serve as a source of inspiration. We also have some committees, a committee on equality, on vocational training, municipalities, because we want to focus on some concrete aspects and their relationship with service learning. Since here we are talking about partnerships, I'm going to focus on two specific partnerships. We have this vocation to work as a network and to establish partnerships from our very beginning. As soon as we went into the register of Spanish organizations, we already use the name network. We call ourselves the Spanish Service Learning Network. At the beginning, we were quite small, but 10 years later, this is no longer a dream. It has become a reality. But from the very beginning of our existence, we have felt that we needed to be a network. Spain is a diverse country. The Spanish government has 17 autonomous communities. These are different regions with different levels of autonomy, with different laws on education and social aspects that are different. And some others are specific. And from the very beginning, we had a center in Catalonia set up to promote service learning in Catalonia. So we would love to have a group promoting service learning in each of these autonomous communities. But that because those that live in the territory are the ones who are aware of all the legal, political, economic, and social considerations in their own territories. So over the years, we have promoted the creation of these groups. So now we can claim that we have 17 territorial groups dealing with service learning in these communities. So what do these groups look like? Some are quite large, highly active, like ones in the Extremadura, that region. Others are smaller. In Cantabria, you have just 2 or 3 people that make up that group, so they do their best. Some are emerging groups. They are just having more people coming in, and others have been consolidated for many years, and they work very well, as in Catalonia or Valencia. So there is a wide variety because they come out of the territory. We encourage them to be created, but we don't create them ourselves. So we have a pluralistic and characteristic here. So what do? They do what we do at the state level. What we do in RedApS is replicated by the groups at the lower level. Of course, they provide training. They offer training to education centers, but also to social organizations or technical officers in public administration. They also organize their own meetings, just like we do it in December. They have regional meetings to promote service learning, also to offer training. They have annual service learning meetings. Many of them have their own social media accounts to disseminate service learning at the local level in their own regions. And of course, they also establish partnerships with government bodies or with education institutions at the municipal level, at the political level. They sign agreements with social organizations or companies in order to promote service learning. And there are some challenges, of course, because the spirit is quite positive, but of course, we face problems. Some communities, some autonomous communities are too big, and The members of the territorial group perhaps live 2 or 3 hours away from where they have to be, so it's difficult for them to establish a personal relationship with other people or to do joint work. We use volunteers. All of us in the Spanish network are there because we want to devote our time to promoting service learning. So sometimes that is not easily sustained. We also aim at improving coordination and rotate leadership. There are some people who have been leading for many years and are tired, but they can't find the successor. So these are some of the challenges that we face. And what is the relationship between these groups and our network, RedApps? Well, we always want to cultivate a horizontal relationship. RedApps is not a hierarchical organization. We are not above others. No, we just collaborate. We support one another. Just to give you an idea, if you want to join RedApps, we always ask you to have the support of your territorial group, now that we have groups in all the autonomous communities. So they submit their application and we ask the coordinator of the territorial group, do you know him? Yes, he's a teacher, he's an engaged teacher. Okay, so we need their support, their endorsement. And we also want to represent them and to assist them when they cannot get to where they want. Let me briefly touch on a second partnership, the one that we have established with the municipal governments. From the very beginning, we realized that the municipal government was the closest political organization to us. They have their own departments of education, youth, citizenship participation, and social services. So they have a close contact with citizens and also with the most vulnerable groups. So we want the municipalities to learn what service learning is about. We wanted them to promote it in their own territories and also to establish partnerships in order to promote social cohesion and also to improve life in those municipalities. This is a map that shows the network of municipal governments that collaborate with RedApps. The number is growing quite quickly. There is a specific committee working on municipalities within RedApps, dealing with municipal technicians, so we are very proud of that. And now, I'm about to conclude. As I said, we have a calling to work as a network from the very beginning. We believe that collaborating is not a utopia, it is a reality. We need to build that reality. We need to protect the network so that it can continue being strong. It's like a spider web. You have to expand it thread after thread, because we believe that this is what serves our ultimate goal, to promote solidarity-based education with a high level of engagement. So, and as we say here, this is inside us, and it is natural for us to collaborate. So that's all. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Josemari.
Thank you, Josemari. Okay, that was wonderful. I don't know what you think. I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to hear about these 4 projects with these 5 individuals that carry out the networks and collaborations daily, as all of you do. You have now a few minutes to write the questions in the papers you have in the binder. So we will have a few minutes to ask our speakers here to answer your questions. In the meantime, let me tell you about some of the things that came to my mind after listening to them. Josemari said at the beginning, if you want to learn more about the Spanish network, you can read the article in RedApps, that is the Ibero-American Journal for Service Learning. The Ibero-American Journal is an academic indexed journal with peer review. I mean, it's an academic publication That is also the first academic journal on service learning in Spanish, although it publishes also in English and in Catalan. And the latest issue last year was a monograph on service learning networks. So, well, the Spanish network is one of them. And here in the audience, we also have members of the Mexican Service Learning Network, the Argentinian network, the Uruguay, Brazil, Spain. We also have networks in Ecuador, Colombia, Portugal, Ecuador, the US, and other countries. I say this for you to find one another. We have lunch and then the rest of the day and all the time you want from there on. So if your countries are represented there and you want to find your counterparts, this is the moment. And then if you're interested in digging more into this concept of service learning networks, this monograph published in December is a very good source. We have a first question here that says, this is for Claudio and Pamela. The training project, do you want to have a green garden? Has it had an environmental impact, and how did you follow up on that with the youth and the students? Yes, we followed up on that. In 2009, we gave the seedlings to all the interested party, to the public in general, and we used to call, or they themselves came back to us, and we asked them how it went, so that way we were able to modify or improve the production process, that kind of follow-up. And well, most returned the next year or in the new season. So it was very rich. It was good to improve the production process in this way. I'd like to add something. On the other hand, adding to what Claudio mentioned, at the school we also do composting. We reuse it and we share this. We participate in activities with the local Ministry of the Environment from the municipality. In the last period, they have established a recycling plant in Quilmes, and we visited it with our students. They received some training there, a talk, and we try then to disseminate that when we do activities or we promote this within the school as well. Thank you. One of the topics that was mentioned in several of the presentations had to do with the time. Luis mentioned that you have to give time to the bonds. Claudio, Pamela mentioned the construction of partnerships a long time. Josemari also mentioned that at the beginning there were just a few individuals, and then, well, the idea of time came up. And here the question is for any of you. They're asking, how do you deal with time and transcending time with the communities?
¿Alguien se anima? Bueno, entonces te hago la otra también.
Okay, so I have another question for you, and you can answer both. This is specific for your project. What is the comparison? How would you compare your project, Manos a la obra, and a volunteering program? Why it is not a volunteering program, but a service learning program? Okay, about the question and also the one about the time, a service learning, it is a service learning project because our objective in Manos a la obra, it's not just going to a community and help, which is great, and many volunteering programs are great, but it doesn't only have the service aspect to it. It's not just helping, it's working with the local community. And these projects I mentioned before, the idea there is that the students that participate actually try to think of the issues that they observe in those communities and see what they can do from their area. That's why it's a service learning project. It has happened to me very often that perhaps, well, we'll be very generic here. I have friends from, I don't know, from a social area or law school or economics. And then the architecture or engineering students detected in the community some issue, and they're there with a shovel and, and doing this physical work. And in the social courses, they say, well, I'd like to do something like this, more active. My area is not so fun. And well, but the idea is that you put your learning, your knowledge at the service. Of course, it's great. In other volunteering programs, yeah, they all do the physical work and do the shovel, and it doesn't matter what they are studying. But in this case, your service must be connected to your knowledge and to your background. Otherwise, you lose this thing of, as we did yesterday in the workshop, of thinking, what can I do from my position? And then we always insist on professionalizing the projects, not just doing, but also as we are university students or graduates. The idea is also to create a written project with goals, with an action plan, with objectives, general specific objectives, to then present that to the municipality and say, well, this is what we do. These are serious projects. That's on the one hand. And then about the time, the fact that we work at a community for 3 years is because it takes some time to create the connections with the people. And so the first year is to get to know one another, establish connections, be aware of the problems there. So during the 3-year period, we can work and think, well, what can we do moving forward? And saying, well, 3 years is the maximum, it's the end. That is so as not to generate dependence. In those 3 years, the idea is to work with the neighbors to give them a more decent life and for them to make sense of it. And then with what they've done in those 3 years, they can continue on their own and not depend on the project. Thank you. And we have another question. I think it's a great question to conclude the panel. We don't have much time, so I ask you to please be very brief and straightforward. I think it's a great question to summarize. The question is, what would be your recommendation for those that are not used to working in a network or whose institutions have rigid structures and it's very difficult for them to do collaborative work? I'd like to listen to each and every one of you with a brief recommendation as a closure. This time, I'm going to refer not so much to the Spanish network, but to my experience creating bonds and networks as a high school teacher. In my school, we're very open, we're closed within our walls. And so creating that network was difficult. I knocked at many doors and said, hello, I'm Josemari from the Holy Heart School. We want to collaborate with you. But now it's as Luis said, we also collaborate with 30 associations from the community. And our performance, our academic performance is much better now. There's no doubt about it. So you have to believe firmly that you will be better by doing it. My experience is that very seldom they will tell you no. Another thing is if it's not possible to collaborate because of the schedules, the structures, and if it's not possible, it's okay. But initially, I've always been very successful, and it's important to try and to open the doors. And we have improved a lot as an educational center that is open to the community. I have 3 very specific things. One is the famous know yourself, working internally, what we do, what we are looking forward to. And in that knowing yourself, as we are us in our circumstances, a second point is a mapping. of who are we connecting with already. And then others appear in this mapping. And if it's participatory, a lot of people and institutions will appear. And third has to do with the times, as they asked you. And I will mention Benedetti from Uruguay as well. He has a very nice poem that is time without time. I need time without time, he says. And we are in so fast time. We want everything to happen now. And with this, even if technology helps you and there are collaborative tools and this and that, well, Uniservitate was based on virtuality, was created remotely. Some things require time. So it's important to take time to know yourself, to coordinate actions. By doing, we get to know one another, and doing puts us in another dynamic to reflect together and to tell us what we do. Those 4 dimensions should be part of the agenda when we work in networks. Know yourself, share, coordinate actions, reflect together, and share what we do, communicate what we do. Those things are the excuse to create a nice network. Well, I can tell you that we're a small school, as I said, but we have to be open always to new proposals. And at the beginning of the year, I plan, but I know that things will come up, as happened last year, that we started working with 2 institutions. So I have to go and talk to the principal and tell her, well, for instance, I have a problem. I have to do this, which is very good. And the schools are rigid in many cases. So we learned that you win a lot by trying to accommodate things and see this new reality, because it will bring very nice surprises. It happened to me many times that I have to call off things. Or last year, I went 2 or 3 times in the other shift, not in my shift. But by being more flexible, you obtain a lot of benefits and you learn a lot. Thank you. No, just to say that working as a network, not necessarily, a flexible network. Actually, in our project, we have no sponsors. Every year, we go out and look for donations, and it's a very flexible network. Okay, I want to mention that the flexibility, diversity. Josemari said that in order to be a part of the Spanish network, you have to pay a membership. Benjamin said that in Manos a la obra, they renew themselves every year. There's an Argentine author that doesn't speak about creating networks, but about making the networks visible, because she says that the networks exist before we even realize they exist. Those that work in networks, our task is to make them visible and to see, as in the old medicine books, that you could see all the body, all the systems, how they work, or just a system, just the digestive system. Okay, that's the same. Making some parts of the networks visible depending on what we want to do. As Claudio mentioned, he said, I plan, but I know that things will come up. So I invite you to keep building these networks today and moving forward, and map the networks, as Luis mentioned, make them visible, make the partners and the actors who work with visible, to be better organized, and as we said at the beginning, to expand the space of what is possible so that our work is increasingly transformational. Thank you all for sharing your experiences, and we'll see you again soon.
A continuación se celebrará un acuerdo.
Now we will enter a collaboration agreement between FNTV from Brazil and CLAYSS for the distribution free of charge of some of the most renowned publications of CLAYSS. One of them will be the manual that you see here on the screen. Enrique Ochoa, on behalf of CLAYSS, Daniel Estigliano, on behalf of Scholas, and Pablo Ruiz de las Heras, on behalf of the FTD Publishing, to come here on the stage. We will just take 1 more minute of your time just to share this news before lunch. Please bear with us for 1 more minute. At CLAYSS, we are very happy because we have just concluded a partnership with FTD, that is the Marist Brothers publishing house from Brazil, one of the most important ones in the world. And as part of the agreement that we have finalized, several of the CLAYSS publications will be translated into Portuguese and will be made available free of charge in the publishing house, and they can be downloaded also for free. We will start with a re-edition of a manual that we published in 2018 that is called Schools for Encounter. That was done together with the Scholas Foundation. That is why Daniel Stigliano is here representing Scholas. And Paulo from the FTD Publishing House is here, and here is our friend Rodrigo, who was the liaison for us to reach this agreement. So please be aware that soon we will have several publications available in Portuguese. We thank the publishing house for their commitment and Scholas for continuing the collaboration with us. Hello. Good morning. I will try to use a mixture of Portuguese and Spanish, so apologies. It is an honor for FTD in the education sector to collaborate for service learning to be a means for our educators, especially our students, to be transformed in this process, searching for a more fraternal society. Thank you.